Future John here, real quick. Anytime we talk about our Twitter handle, it is gonna be at WMAK podcast. The other one was taken throughout the podcast, so just want to let you guys know one more time. It's gonna be Twitter handle at WMAK podcast. So just want to let you guys know. Anyways, enjoy the podcast. All right, welcome to the WMAKP. Yeah, okay, I still gotta work on the name. But the World of Martial Arts Karate podcast. Today, I have here my co-host, Alex, a fellow instructor at the World of Martial LLC. Wow, I'm biting my tongue really hard this time. But, I keep saying a lot. Anyways, so we are here talking. There's so many things to talk about when it comes to karate, but martial arts in general. And this podcast is really meant to help other martial art instructors be better instructors. Of course, we're learning just as much as you are every day. So whatever we're saying is because we're also learning about it as well. And we want to say it to you guys. But at the same time, it's also one of those things where if you guys can take this and maybe email us, comment to us, anything like that. Tweet to us. We're planning on having a Twitter here soon. So if you could, do anything like that. But anyways, let's get started. As you can tell by the title, today's theme is the teaching kids. And we're specifically talking. Man, I am biting my tongue hard today. But specifically talking, we're really focusing on sort of the 6 to sort of 9 years old, somewhere in that age era. Yeah, man, I'm biting my tongue hard today. But there's a lot of things to go over, especially for kids. I mean, what was your first experience when it was sort of like working with that age group? Because I hated it when I first started. I hated teaching that age group. It was just so bad for me. I mean, what about you?
I'm same with you there. I didn't like it. It was the most difficult part of teaching to me. I didn't understand what I was doing. As a new instructor, as a new Team Storm member, right? You kind of got thrown in the deep end a little bit.
Right, Team Storm. So that's what we call our assistants, Team Storm. There's sort of those assistants that want to try learning, learning how to teach class, learning the content better, just wanting to work with kids a little bit more. That's what we call our assistants. They're not quite black belts, but they're not, really low colored rank at that time. But yeah, we call them Team Storm. Do you remember what Storm stands for?
Not off the top of my head.
Oh, no. No.
Yeah, it is an acronym. Hopefully we can get that at some point.
Hopefully.
But yeah, it was, back to the main point, it was the hardest thing for me to do because it kind of felt like I got thrown into the deep end there. Not knowing how to be an instructor, knowing how to lead a group of kids. And at the time, I was 12 years old when I first started, and that was basically the first group I helped out with. I'm now 19, so you can do the math there. It's been a very long time.
I got it. Team Storm is a super team of role models. That's what it was. Yes, now I remember. I just looked that up. But
I think ours was special. I think it's
was it special? Was ours special? Okay.
Special.
But yeah, it's within that same general aspect. But yeah, no. Man, that just getting thrown in there. But you have to get your feet wet first, definitely.
Yes.
But that age group is it's a fun age group if you have the right kids. But especially if you're starting out at karate school, you have to learn to sort of accept everybody right now. There's going to be a lot of problems, but you have to go into the mindset of you want to help each of those kids no matter what the problem is. Of course, if they're really far on the spectrum or if they're, there's some kind of thing going on with the child, then it's a little bit harder. But I remember there was this one student, I'm not going to post names, but you know who I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
Very far on the spectrum. That was my first real tough part when I came back anyways.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so let's go back to the main topic.
Yeah, of course.
So what's the first skill you would want to teach another instructor about teaching 7 to 9 year olds?
It's very cliche, but patience.
Patience. Yeah, that's a good one. No, it's good. Yeah, go ahead.
Like I said, it's very cliche, but it's one of the most important skills you'll learn. And if you learn it, if you start teaching yourself how to be patient with those little kids, you can start moving on to older ranks, older kids, you can just keep going, right? I think it's just one of the most important skills to have, especially with those younger kids that don't quite know how to control themselves yet. Um,
And then the other, my point is not just patience, but making the drills, the repetitive drills, because in all martial arts, you always have to have repetition. But that's really boring for 7 to 9 year olds, 6 to 9 year olds. The biggest thing is making it fun.
yes.
Okay, that's number two. Number three is the last. Well, I wouldn't say last, but really, really important part is being buddy with the kid.
Oh yeah.
That one is hard because a lot of the kids that come up to you, they start talking to you, you're like, what are you saying? I have no idea what you're saying, but
I would say that it kind of goes with the patience thing. You have to let the kid speak to you like you're one of their best friends at school. You have to be a person they can walk up to and say, "Hey, Sensei, how's it going? How you doing?" And that's very difficult. It's not an easy task for anybody. I struggled with it. Right? It's a skill. It's a skill. You have to learn and you have to improve on that skill.
yeah, and so there's a really big part here. Just a disclaimer, real quick. Every martial arts, every karate school is going to be a little bit different. But in general, our karate school and a lot of ones around us, we call, the students call us sensei. And it's just, there's a lot of things that may not align with your martial arts or karate school, but I hope this teaching style sort of fits, yours, and hopefully you can use these skills and ideas and hopefully make them your own. And not all these are going to work 100% because
Of course
I
not.
think
Nope.
you and I definitely have. We tried using multiple skills on specific children, and sometimes they don't work. So what you have to do is use those skills and just make them change them, really make them totally different, but still within the same path, and then try to use that.
Being an instructor, you have to be comfortable being out of your comfort zone.
Yeah,
Because
that's very true.
there's so many different skills and different techniques you have to use, especially with these little kids, right? You're not always going to get kids that want to practice the content, but just want to play the games. So you have to figure out the way to have them practice the content, but have fun while doing it, like John was saying. So it's a very difficult and time-consuming thing to learn.
And then
So
biggest part is I really want to mention this part is the fact that you always have next week.
yes,
That's very, very important because if you at least do monthly signups, monthly payments, they will come. They'll try. Hopefully, you have them come every week in that month, and you always have to tell yourself, "I might have messed up this time, but I have to make it up that next week." You have to make it up. And the mistakes you do make, you really have to own up to them too. You can't have your ego or pride in the way when you're teaching, because you're not there for yourself. You are really there for the kids to learn and to become better. But yeah, so okay, let's start with this. Let's try to use an example here. So I think you could probably imagine many children. I want to not necessarily call them problem children, but children with some kind of difficulty,
home
right?
lives,
Maybe
and-
home lives, yeah, something like that. So
Yeah,
let's
of course.
start. What was one student? You don't have to name them, of course. We don't want them to. You don't want them
Of
named.
course, yeah.
But what is like one difficult student? Can you give us like an example of one difficult student that you had to deal with that you try to use these steps? Like try to explain the steps and everything
So,
else.
long time ago, I had a student. They were always hurt, with lots of quotations
Oh,
around
okay,
it.
okay,
They were
yeah,
always
yeah.
hurt. So they were trying. They were using it to get out of like certain situations and stuff like that. And it's something really you're not sure if they actually are hurt, so you don't want to push them and say, all right, go do this. And if they really are hurt, you don't want to be like feel bad about that, right? But if they aren't, if they're faking it, they're not getting the practice, they're not getting the content. So it's really a delicate situation, and trying to deal with that was I took time to think about
So
it.
what steps did you take? Because I got a couple ideas in my head that
So
I would have used.
what I first did was I always have no matter what happens, if somebody says they're hurt, I have them sit out. I want the kid to make sure they know they can trust me. So like if they really do get hurt, like they break their leg or something like that, I know that's a very extreme, right? But I'm not gonna make them get up and continue running or continue with the content. I want to make sure the kids feel safe in the dojo, in the training school. So having them sit out like that, having them wait to join class, even though they say they're ready, just have them wait. Tell them, no, you need to sit out for a little bit longer. I want to make sure you feel okay before you.
And
come
then
back
during
to
that
class.
time, what are you doing with the class?
I'm doing something fun.
There
I'm
you
doing
go.
something
Yes.
very,
Yes.
very fun. I usually go to the drills using a blocker pad, having kids dodge that or something like that, something along those lines.
And then in terms of having fun, we really want to emphasize the fact that you want to have each fun drill, make sure there's some kind of meaning behind it, and you have to explain it because you're not necessarily explaining it for the kids. You're explaining it for the parents because the parents are the one paying you the money. The parents are the one listening. Their parents are the one with quote more mature mind
Yes.
to understand what you're doing. So what you're doing is make sure every time you do a drill, something else, you have to explain it not just to the kids but to the parents. I just had to get that point out because that's really important. And this is through no matter what age, what rank, it doesn't matter. But it's very emphasized for the kids so the parents understand what their kids are getting out of. Anyways, go ahead.
I was going to add on to that. Like, end of the day, running a dojo is a business, and the parents are the one paying for that, so they want to know what they're getting out of it, and that it is the best way for parents to understand what we're teaching, help them to trust us and know what we're doing with kids. Right? They're entrusting our kids to us, right? Which is a very scary thing as a parent. It's not every day a parent can go out and say, "Oh, go take my kid and do something. Go do a physical activity that's fairly dangerous with them." And talking like that, explaining what you're doing, how you're doing it, why you're doing it to the parents, but also making it into a fun drill and stuff like that is so important. But back to the point.
Right. So we just got done saying you're making the kids sit out and while you're playing a fun game.
Yes.
Okay.
And then once that kid is ready, once I feel like we've gotten through the fun activity for a little bit, right? That kid is sitting there leaning forward, right? Body language, very big part of karate. You always have to be watching what kids are thinking, right? That you kind of got to start learning how to read minds almost. It's kind of weird, but I've learned like once kids start
we'll get back to that.
Yeah.
We'll definitely get back to that part here.
Once kids start leaning in, right? They're more excited. They want to get back out there, right? I always send them with one of our Team Storm members, one of our assistants, to go practice over just a little bit of what they missed. Not as much, right? I'm not going to have them go through it like 4 times like we did in the main class.
We want them to learn
Yes.
the content that they missed so they can make up for that missed content
Yes.
before they have fun. So they understand that even if I'm faking getting hurt, I can't get out
Yes.
of this repetitious training or the training that's actually really, really important. Well, I mean, all training is technically important, but the stuff that's content-wise.
Yes. And that a lot of the time that worked for me. Every once in a while, you'll get the kid that's hurt and refuses just to come back out on the floor.
So now, okay, before we go back to that topic before that, what are we supposed to do when a child actually gets hurt? Because we've had this happen before. We actually had a couple of kids, fracture their arms or fracture their wrist because they ended up falling on our wood floor.
There was a kid that also broke her leg in the
Yes,
dojo
that's
years
true.
and years ago, though.
So make sure, biggest thing is you have some kind of liability form. You have something, of course, when you sign up for karate, you shouldn't really make them sign the liability form at the very beginning.
Yes.
But even before that, you need some kind of report. So when they get injured, you understand who was watching, how it happened. So you have some sort of paper that says, okay, this is what actually happened. So you get your backs, you get your butt saved.
Yes.
And then make sure they sign us so they understand everything. So we've had a lot of things happen. Like, luckily, I don't think our karate school has been necessarily sued because of an injury yet.
No.
So we've taken precaution. They've signed liability forms. And you also have to remember, martial arts itself is a dangerous sport. It's not only a sport, but active self-defense, self-discipline. It's a very dangerous martial arts. Of course, you have to, as an instructor, you have to take precaution for that, especially for young kids that think martial arts are just a ninja.
Yeah. Yep. There's kids that will come in here and start punching and kicking each other.
Oh my
and
gosh, that's always scary.
That's one of the most dangerous situations you can be in as an instructor, is little kids trying to hurt each other.
So scary.
Because the parents are going to blame that on you.
Yeah.
And that it's not something you ever want to deal with. It's not something that you want to you just never want to deal with that.
No.
It's terrifying. That's why having like the forms, right? Our dojo has cameras. Cameras are just very important in a dojo, right?
Yep.
You can, of course, make sure everybody knows that they are being filmed, right? And but it can save you from people trying to either lie about something that happened in the dojo. I don't know if that's necessarily ever happened at our dojo.
Not since I've been back or before I took a break.
Yeah. So
Big thing though, I'm going to jump into this real quick. What if a student, a little child, you're at 6 to 9, 5 to 9, whatever age group before 10 years old, doesn't want to do the drill, the repetition, or the activity? What should happen there, right? Biggest part is you don't force them.
no.
You don't want to force that child. You let them stay comfortable with their parent. Make sure the parent's there. You always want your parent there. Usually within this age group, their parents are always there.
Yes.
Make sure they know they have a safe place. Because I remember in the past, our sensei used to force kids to come down. I mean, he didn't know any better back then, but it wasn't very good, healthy in terms of safe space. Every child needs a safe space. And usually that's their parent. So you don't want to force anything. You always want to do activities that look fun, but at the same time, things that make sense. This is in terms of like brand new students that are really scared, really nervous. Not the kids that are destructive, that are always running class. We'll get back to that here in a second.
Yeah.
But do drills, fun drills, things that want to get that child on the floor, because a parent can only force their child to do so much. It's your job, especially if they already signed up, to get them on the floor to do things. Of course, you can't force every child. You can't. Not all children are going to come on the first day. So there's always that free trial period that's always valuable, in my opinion. Like, was it 1 week? Well, the first one class, or was it two classes?
It's usually for some kids it's two classes.
Kids, right.
But what happens a lot is kids like to come in and sit and watch.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't consider that like a free trial period. I would consider that more the kid is observing and
Yeah.
they want to see if this is right for them.
Yeah.
Having kids observe the class, that's one of the best ways to make a kid feel comfortable.
Definitely. And then the second part. Oh wait, what was the very first thing that we did? Oh, body language.
Yes.
That was the last part of this conversation so far. Man, body language is hard. That takes a lot of practice.
It's something you have to learn, and
That takes
it'll never be
time.
perfect.
I mean, you could always read a psychology book. You can always go on YouTube or go on the internet trying to read body language, but it takes time for your mind and eyes to develop. I remember when I was still 18, I mean, I just started my own classes, and it was really hard for me to read body language at the time. I was working with, I had 10 kids at that building, remember, before I left.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And that was, really? You have your ringer? Really? Really? Your ringer? Wow. Wow. In the middle of a session, your
yeah.
ringer. Okay. Anyway.
Shame.
Okay. But where were we at?
It's difficult.
Yeah, that's right. Body language. Yeah. No, I mean, do you have any pointers for body language? I mean, for me, because we've been doing this so long and teaching that we had time to think about it, come back to it, that we sort of developed an eye and a thought for body language. I mean, it's so intuitive for me now. But do you have like any, advice you would give to instructors?
Eyes and shoulders. Watch their eyes and their shoulders. You can tell a lot by how a kid looks at you. There's kids that look at you with respect, and then there's those kids that look at you like you're their worst nightmare. You're their
Or
worst
their
enemy.
best friend. That's the best friend is the last thing you want,
Yes.
is being their best friend. But
Yep. Like I said, shoulders. If their shoulders are dropping, right? If they look like they're they're about to pass out almost, right? Their arms are hanging down, They look very what's the word? Not confident.
Not confident, right.
Not confident in themselves. After like a hard day in class or something like that. That's really how I can tell how the class
Yeah.
went and how the kids feel at the end of the day if they want to come back. I mean, there's times you can see kids hang their head as they walk out the dojo.
And then we plan on diving deeper in a lot of these conversations here in the future. But yeah, if you have any more questions, you have a subject you really want us to talk about, send a message us on Twitter. It's at WMAKP on Twitter. Twitter's the easiest place for me to answer messages, especially for Alex as well. It probably is available. I can guarantee that's available. If not, then we'll change it. Yeah. So we've been doing a lot lately for the. Is it not?
WMKP?
No, WMAKP.
AKA.
It should be available. Is it not? Okay.
It's not.
Oh my gosh, someone actually has that already? Jeez. Internet's so hard. Do WMA Karate Podcast.
If I could spell.
Oh my gosh. Come on, Alex. When spelling's hard for college students.
That is available. Yeah.
Okay, so let's change it up. So it's gonna be at World of Martial Arts. No, WMA Karate Podcast. So Alex looks like he's making that already. Maybe we'll see. But yeah, so if you have any other questions on this, let's send a message for us on Twitter. But yeah, back to everything else. I mean, man, kids. I'm starting to like working with kids now from 7 to 9. It definitely took me a while to like teaching them because for me, it was like I always thought of it as control. You have to control the kids, but you can't control the kids. You really have to go with the flow with the kids and just sort of see how the kids are reacting to the way you're teaching. And you can't, there's a time to be a bad cop and there's a time to be a good cop. And most of the time, you really do have to play the good cop in that 7 to 9-year-old group. And once in a while, when you see things going on for too long, you can't do it right off the bat. You have to sort of experiment and wait a couple of weeks before anything else happens, and then you can start being the bad cop. Preferably, if there's more than you, if there's one other instructor, one person can be the bad cop, the other person can be the good cop. But no one likes being the bad cop.
It's a necessary evil. Especially in a karate dojo, learning to respect everything that dojo has put in for them, and the people in the dojo, the senseis, the instructors, the people even working there, they put in long hours just so your kid can make it to a karate class and train.
So I mean, okay, so let's wrap this up here. Let's go. 3 things each here. Wow, you really hit your water bottle.
I'm really slapping everything. I'm trying to make the Twitter right
now. Okay, let's go 3 things each. We'll go back and forth here. 3 things, 3 for each. 3 recommendations, 3 ideas, 3 techniques, 3 pieces of advice you can give for new instructors, current instructors, old instructors that are having a tougher time with 7 to 9-year-olds. And I'm just saying before we get into this, your 6 to 9-year-old group is your biggest group.
It's your money maker as a
business. Look, it is your money maker. There's more kids that way. Parents really want kids to get into something. A lot of parents tend to want them to teach self-discipline. But you always have to remember on the pamphlet, on your advertisement, whatever you do, you also have to place your philosophy. What is your philosophy of karate when you're teaching kids? So our philosophy is, right, I'm really being vague and generalizing here because I can't repeat this word for word because it's really confusing the way we put it.
Yeah.
But we are trying to create or help your child improve as a person, teach them self-defense, teach them self-discipline, and just improve overall as a person of society. That's more towards the older kids in the last part. But I think if we generalize in those 4 points as philosophy of the dojo, I think that really sort of helps with the parents. And you really have to find a balance. Okay, here we go. So 3 points of advice to instructors for teaching 7 to 9, 6 to 9, whatever the young age group is before your double digits for kids. You got a couple?
Okay, I'll go first.
One? You got first? Okay.
First pointer. Understand the kid you're teaching first. understand if they have any disabilities, if they have any home life problems, if they have any issues at school. Understand the kid you're teaching. That goes for every single kid in your class.
Good. I'm going to add on to that as my other advice. Don't give the kids any unnecessary baggage when they leave the dojo. You want them coming back. It doesn't mean you don't discipline them when you need to, but you don't want any more baggage, because if that child has a really tough home life and you give them more baggage, then it's going to make it really tough for them to come back, because they don't want any more baggage than they do already. So that's mine. Okay, next one.
Don't over-explain things.
Good one.
They're little kids. they're not fully functioning humans quite yet. I mean, they're not. If you were teaching an adult class, you could explain things in as much detail as you want. But in a group of little kids, you want to be very general, very straight to the point. Something they can understand. Like you're gonna have them do a kata, right? You don't describe every single word. You don't describe every stance, every movement in the kata, right? You just have them go through it as fast as they can, right? As a race, so they have fun when they're doing it too. So.
Adding on to that, to my second point, trying to make every drill, not every single drill in that class, but once a week, try to find a drill that makes that repetitive moves fun, making drills fun. That's how the kids are wanting to come back. That's how the kids actually learn faster. So you explain what they're doing, making drills fun. Last point.
We said this earlier in the podcast, but talk to the parents, like in class, especially, right? Explain what you're doing, but even outside of class, make sure you're approachable enough where parents want to approach you and ask questions. That's how you know you're making a good community. That's how you know the parents are invested, the kids are invested. Make yourself approachable. Make yourself make sure you can answer their questions. If you can't, right, say, I'll get back to you on that. Yep. That's a very good question. I think that would be something I would be interested in knowing. It makes the dojo feel a lot more cozier as a home, as a community. And parents are more inclined to bring their kids back if they can trust the sensei, can trust the instructor, the staff, everybody there. So,
okay, my last point is do the drills with them as an instructor. Yes. Kids want to have someone to look up to, especially if it's like a single parent family, right? Single parent home. Kids want someone to look up to. So don't just be standing, and then instructing. Do drills with them. Of course, if you're a little bit older and you're a little bit, in pain or some things don't move as correctly, have black belts or instructors, fellow instructors or other younger assistants that can do those drills just as good or, somewhat passable, so they're showing off. You just want to do them with them. That's the biggest part, because kids always think, if you're not doing them, why do I need to do them? Mm-hmm. So do the drills with them.
And of course, when you do those drills, be a show off.
Be a show off. You have to be a show off. I mean, as a person, you're like, why do I need a show off? I don't need a show off, right? But for the kids, they want to go, wow.
Yeah, you want kids.
Whoa, yeah. Right? You want the kids to do that. That's it for today. Follow us on Twitter at WMA Karate Podcast. If you have any other questions, you want us to dive deeper into anything else. And like we said before, we are always learning with you. We are learning as well. We want to improve as instructor, right? We're trying to not stay stagnant. We're trying to make best of what we have and make it even better. Thank you so much for joining us on the WMAKP. Ooh, that was clean.
There you go.
All right.
You're getting better at it.
See you guys in the next one.